You are listening to A Scary State, and this week we're covering Virginia. So, Kenzie?
Yes, Lauren?
Let's get scary.
Whoop, whoop.
This is my birthday episode.
Happy birthday!
Thank you! It comes out one day before my birthday.
Mm-hmm.
Big old 29.
Whoop, whoop. Last year in your 20s.
I know. And then we'll have to have like a 30th funeral.
Or
to say goodbye to my 20s.
You mean a 20?
Like on my 30th.
Have a funeral to your 20s.
Exactly.
Got it.
And if you haven't seen all over social media, Mackenzie and I got tattoos.
We got tattoos. I got us matching shirts and matching bags.
And it's so all matching and so fun.
We might as well just be Siamese twins conjoined at the hip.
I mean, pretty much.
At this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. We really hope you enjoyed our fort episode as much as we enjoyed
Oh my gosh. It took us 2 hours to make the fort.
It was a very creative endeavor.
It was a creative endeavor.
And we know for next time, until I get more rugs, we cannot record in my house. Because the echo is unreal.
I know.
But I just got new curtains. So at the very least, it should help maybe with sound in my room.
Okay. Let me move my water bottle. It's making a lot of clinking noises. Because, okay, are you a room temperature water drinker, or are you like, it has to be ice?
If I'm thirsty, I will drink water.
But like,
it doesn't.
Like, what is your preference?
Cold.
Okay. That's what I said. And I read online that someone was like, oh, room temperature water is the healthy, correct way to drink water. And I'm like,
those are also the same people that say that you should take a cold shower. So.
Oh, yeah, no.
Fuck that.
I do the cold shower for like.
I'll do like a cold rinse.
I won't. I will do a cold rinse my hair.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
And then it goes right back to hot.
Well, I do it right at the end of the shower. So it just like rinse and out.
I don't like ending on a cold shower because it makes me sad.
Oh, well, okay. This is where we do differ.
Oh, no.
As someone who has to blow dry their hair, I don't want to be hot.
Okay.
Because then I'll be sweaty.
See, that's my thing. I don't like being cold when I get out of the shower.
Yeah.
So I like to end on like a hot note. So I'm all like warm.
Which is fair. I end on a cold one. And then I even have to like turn the lights off in my bathroom because the light bulbs get so hot. And especially with bangs, it's really annoying when you're trying to blow dry your hair and your forehead's sweaty. Because then it's like you just keep doing the same thing over and over.
A struggle I will never know.
No.
People who watch this video, like whatever, wherever you put this, will see my hair grow throughout the course of this.
The amount of archives I have of us that I haven't figured out what to do with yet.
Well, if this gets anywhere, you will see it starts off right out of the shower and then it will grow. All right, so do we just want to dive into the state facts?
Let's dive into our home state of good old Virginia.
Oh, yeah.
All righty. So far, from my first glance, it doesn't look like there's any words I don't know.
No, I think we should be good for this one.
Doesn't mean I won't fuck it up.
Nope.
But anywhoser, the first inhabitants of this area arrived about, do you mean this area where we are or Virginia?
Like Virginia.
Okay. First inhabited this state. The first inhabitants... Shit. The first inhabitants of this state arrived about 12,000 years ago.
It's wild to think of things that long ago.
Did I ever tell you my analogy about how long people have been on Earth?
Mm-mm.
So if you think about how long there's been people comparatively to how long the Earth has been
the
Earth and like livable, if you condense it to like a calendar year, humans have been on Earth for 15 minutes before midnight on December 31st.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Right? So our state mammal is the Virginia big-eared bat, and it's so cute. I think I've seen it.
It is so cute.
It is really cute. It is very cute. I could live with that for our animal.
I do like that.
And I feel like it, goes with our theme.
Yeah.
Bats can be spooky.
Exactly.
Although they're really stinking cute.
I know.
They're like teddy bears with wings.
I know. They're adorable.
They're so cute. 8 U.S. presidents were born in Virginia, which is more than any other state. Williamsburg has a field of abandoned president statues.
Yeah, it's super creepy.
That's weird.
I think they were going to try to do something with them, and then they just gave up whatever their plan was. So now there's just statues of presidents' heads.
That's creepy.
Yeah.
There were more battles for the Civil War fought on Virginia soil than any other state, and those of you born and raised here and had to take the stupid Virginia history SOL.
I can say I have blocked that out of my mind.
Oh, well, as a teacher.
Yes.
We know all of the things. And for the longest time, I really thought that that's what everybody learned. Because
no.
in my mind, I'm like, oh, well, this is the Civil War, the Revolutionary War. Like, all these things happened here. All these people know about all these things. I'm like, no. We just got a big ego and make our children take a test about our fucking history.
Yep. I mean, it's the most American thing.
Yeah, we also have a U.S. SOL. For those of you that don't know what an SOL is, it's just our version of the Common Core standards.
Yeah.
So, not that anyone who's not a teacher would probably know that. Anyway, Virginia has the largest number of personalized license plates. I have one. It's because it's inexpensive.
It's inexpensive?
Yeah, vanity license plates in other states when you like have to re-register your car can be like a couple $100.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dang.
Ours is like $75.
Oh.
Yeah. Virginia is home to 3 deadly spiders. Lovely.
Gross.
The black widow, the brown recluse, and the yellow sack spider. Ugh, I hate, a lot of people don't like moist. I fucking hate the word sack.
Yeah.
Like, it's fucking gross.
I once visited my friend at her college, and she told me, like, when you're in the stairs, be careful because there's, like, a known little black widow nest. So I ended up having a different friend who also went there, and he told me every day he would check for the black widows. Every day they were there, he was like, okay, good, we're good. He would go on his way. Well, he said one day they weren't there, and he was like, shit.
That's why you can never take your eyes off of a spider.
It's
going to disappear. So the 3 deadliest snakes, the eastern cottonmouth, the northern copperhead, and the timber rattlesnake are also home to Virginia.
They're home to Virginia? Virginia is their home.
That too. Back in the olden times, a man named W.W. Poole was forced to leave England as he was believed to be a vampire. Well, I almost talked about Hollywood Cemetery.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, his grave can be found in Hollywood Cemetery, not to be confused with whatever cemetery may be in actual Hollywood. This one is in our fine capital of Richmond, which is believed to be haunted by a spirit and a whole fuck ton of other spirits.
Oh, yeah.
The scary movie Mama is apparently set in Clifton Forge.
I have not seen that movie.
What is that?
What's the movie or what's Clifton Forge?
Both.
Clifton Forge is a place.
Well, that I got.
In Virginia.
Where?
And
Southwest? Central?
I don't know. Probably Central. But I could be wrong. I don't know. And then the movie Mama, I think... I'm just going to look it up. That might be the one with Jennifer Lawrence. This is the one with Jessica Chastain. Is that how you pronounce her name? There's no little description about it, but it's a scary movie.
So helpful.
Oh, here. After a young couple take in their 2 nieces, they suspect that a supernatural spirit named Mama has latched onto their family.
Oh.
So that's Mama.
Pembroke Town is where Dirty Dancing was shot, which actually, having gone to Radford, we went there. We went to we passed it. We didn't go there, but on our way to somewhere else.
Oh, that's cool.
We saw it. It actually was really cool. It looks exactly like it did in the movie.
Right.
But yeah, it's pretty cool. There's even a monumental stone dedicated to Patrick Swayze. Ugh. So beautiful. In 2012, Hank the Cat came in 3rd in the U.S. Senate race. Hell yeah. His competitors even made attack ads against him. He didn't win, but he did raise $60,000 for animal charities.
Which I thought was so nice.
I think really we as a society need to take a long, hard look at the fact that animals are getting so close to winning elections because at this point we would rather have a useless cat than anything else. I heard that I think I saw a blip somewhere about how our governor has been talking to Florida, and I'm like, do it. Just give me one more reason. I don't really need that much anymore. I am halfway out the door anyway. And I don't think it'll work out given I know the makeup of our state is pretty dominantly Republican, but the northern part,
yes,
which is pretty much takes up most of the population of the state.
Yes, no, exactly.
And I'm like, with us being so close to like DC, I don't know if that would ever fly. Plus,
what are you trying to say about Virginia talking to Florida?
With the books. Have you not seen all of the stuff with the books?
No.
What?
Like banning books?
Florida has turned their educational system upside down. He has.
Didn't they ban like a?
Yes, so they banned African American history.
Yes.
Not even like critical race theory, like literally that history.
Mm-hmm.
And they also are making it so that like certain books have to be approved. So like librarians, teachers, they all had to take all of their books off their bookshelves. It's very Fahrenheit 451 where they're like having burn all these books. And there's even a couple that I've seen where, teachers have gotten in trouble because they've had books
This is
or
so stupid.
Yeah. So that's what I mean when I say
Ah,
yes. Sorry, I thought you knew. My bad.
no.
There's the context.
Okay.
See, like I said, half thought in my head.
Right.
But the way Virginia, at least as far as I can remember, I could be totally wrong on this, but Virginia is almost like a mini version of Congress.
Mhm.
Like we have like our House of Delegates. And so we have like a Senate and a House.
Oh, yeah.
And so far, they've pretty much knocked down most of what our governors tried to put in place. Anyway, sorry. In March of 1915, a 6-year-old was sent from her mother's house in Pensacola, Florida, to her father in Christiansburg. Turns out that this was cheaper than a train and only cost 15 cents. What do you mean cent? What does that mean?
Like sent postage-wise. Like,
This still holds the record for the longest distance any child traveled by post. You mean that there's been more than one?
yeah, I can't remember what state it was, but there was another state where I talked about it. Like, one of the facts was that someone was shipped from one place to another because it was cheaper than a plane ticket or a train ticket. Yeah. Isn't that wild? And I think it's like because they weighed below 50 pounds. Yeah.
What, were they just shoved in a box?
No, they were just like in the truck, and I don't know how it worked. I don't know the specifics of it.
That's crazy.
Wild.
That is crazy, boy. So in May 2015, a man from Virginia Beach made a nice request at a bank. He handed the teller a note that said, quote, "I need 150,000 bonds right now." Now is in all caps. 2 exclamation points. Please, period. Police take 3 to 4. I'm assuming that's supposed to be minutes.
It is supposed to be a minute.
It's minutes to get here. I would appreciate if you ring the alarm a minute after I'm gone, ... Make sure the money doesn't blow up on my way out. Also all caps. And ended it with a smiley face emoji.
And he spelled appreciate how it would sound if you're trying to spell it, like sound it out. Appreciate.
So some of the words in his letters were spelled wrong.
As we just went over.
Which, to be 100% honest with you, I only knew appreciate was spelled wrong because of the squigglies. So, if it's close...
Your brain just kind of fits it in.
Yeah, I'm like, if it's close enough, I'm not going to know that it's wrong.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
He posted 2 videos of this transaction, as well as a photo of his note to Instagram. Genius.
Mm-hmm.
Just 22. Oh, I think I remember this.
Really?
I think I remember like hearing like the stupidity of this.
It happened in 2015, so.
Yeah. 22 minutes later, he was picked up by police where he objected to the robbery charge, and he said he had been polite and said please, and that he was simply making a request, not robbing anyone.
I mean, sound logic.
Mm-hmm. UVA has a department that's called the Division of Perceptual Studies that studies ghosts, ESP, and previous lives.
Yeah.
Love that. We have Bunnyman Bridge.
Okay, so remember how the other day you were like, I don't know what Bunnyman Bridge is?
Mhm.
Okay, so this is what it is.
Mhm.
So it's an urban legend, long urban legend short. There was, they believe it was either a mental asylum or a prison where transporting people from one place to another. And their bus ends up crashing. All of the people escape. Pretty much everyone's
It
picked
sounds
up.
like the beginning of a riddle.
Everyone is picked up except one guy.
This really sounds like the beginning of a riddle.
All right,
10 inmates.
All right, let me sound more creepy. So, next thing that happened. No. Anywho, so what happens next is the police are like walking around trying to find him, and they keep finding like the bodies of bunnies all over the place.
Ooh.
And so they end up catching, well, I don't know if they ever catch him, but there's 2 versions of the story. So he's either called Bunny Man because of that, because he killed all these bunnies, or because he's dressed in a bunny costume, and people will see him running around the woods dressed in a bunny costume, Bunny Man. And it all happened near that bridge, so Bunny Man Bridge. And they say that on midnight, if you go to the bridge at midnight on like Halloween or something, you'll see Bunny Man.
Out of all the urban legends that we've talked about,
that's like
pretty lame.
That's what Virginia is most famous for, is Bunny Man Bridge. And then right next to it is Bunny Man Bridge Brewery, and we should go.
That I would do.
Okay. It's right in Fairfax.
Shut up, really?
Yeah.
Oh my god,
Bunny
this is
Man-
close by?
Bunny Man Bridge is in Fairfax.
What?
Yeah.
Where is it? Clifton.
Clifton is not far from here.
Are you sure you're not thinking from your parents' house to there? Because from here to Clifton is not close.
It's not that far. I went to a brewery there recently. Or a winery out in Clifton. It would take us 48 minutes to drive there right now with traffic. Yeah, it would. It took me 25 to 30 minutes to get there last time I went. But yeah, it's very close. 20 to 30 minutes without traffic, like I said.
I suppose from your house. My house would be farther.
By like 10 minutes. Oh my God, read the next fact.
The world's largest bridge tunnel complex. I fucking hate this bridge tunnel thing.
Complex.
Is 17.6 miles, and it's the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel, which for someone who frequently travels down there, there's two tunnels. Both of the bridges are like a tunnel bridge. So you go down into the tunnel and then come out and you're on a bridge for a little bit.
Yeah, for what people don't know, you're literally driving on a bridge and then you go in a tunnel where it dips you under the water and then you go back up onto a bridge.
Right. Which, when you're driving, doesn't really seem like all that much, but when you look at an aerial view
picture,
of it, it's wild.
Thing.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. In 2019, Forbes named Alexandria as the ice cream cone capital.
Yeah, they have really good ice cream places down there.
Yes, they do.
Town.
Oh my God. Sandra Bullock was born in Arlington. Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that. Chris Brown was born in Tappahannock.
Don't care much for him.
No. And Pharrell Williams was born in Virginia Beach. So there you go. That is some state factoids.
State factoid. All right.
What you talking about, Willis?
So, like we already said, today is my birthday episode. And this comes out the day before my birthday, so I wanted to cover Virginia. You have one hair that's like going across your face. No, go like this on the other side. Yeah, there you go. Okay. It just looked funny. Okay. So I decided to cover a haunted location that I visited multiple times. I also decided that this episode would be the perfect episode to talk about all of my personal experiences at this place.
That sounds like a good idea to me.
Thank you. So tonight, and without further ado, I will be covering the Ferry Plantation House located in Virginia Beach at 4136 Cheswick Lane.
Mine's on Virginia Beach too.
Oh my God, it's so haunted.
Well, it's not haunted.
So scary. So as it seems everything is, Ferry Plantation House is often considered one of the most haunted places in Virginia. Surprise, surprise.
Surprise, surprise.
To start, Ferry Plantation House is a very pretty and a very old house. Throughout its years, it served as a jail, courthouse, post office, and tavern, but now it is listed in the Virginia Landmarks Register and on the U.S. National Register of Historic Places. They also provide history tours as well as ghost tours. So before this land was settled, it was believed to have been inhabited as far back as the 1500s by the Chesapeake Native Americans. They built their settlements along the Lynnhaven River and used the surrounding area as hunting land.
Oh yeah, Lynnhaven, that's a mall down there.
That would make sense on the Lynnhaven River. This can be confirmed by the dozens of arrowheads that have been found on the property, as well as jewelry and pottery shards. And it is believed that during different renovation efforts, the construction crews have stumbled upon what they believe to be a Native American graveyard, of course.
Ooh, no. Do you think there's they are able to distinguish the difference between a burial ground, where Native Americans have decided that this is their final resting place versus like Wounded Knee or something?
I would assume.
Okay.
Probably with the care that is put into the burial.
Do you think they would call it something different?
Like Indians would call it something different?
Well, maybe. But when you say burial ground, does it always imply that that means that they buried them? Or could it also be implying that it could be this other thing?
I don't know.
I'm just thinking, when you say plantation, I'm just thinking settlers came in and wiped them out.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why it made me think of the question.
I don't know. That's a good question because not long after they were there, we had some people coming in. So this is they were there in the 1500s and in 1642.
Yeah.
We already have people coming in.
Okay.
Yeah. 1642. Saville Gaskin started a ferry boat service along the Lynnhaven Waterway to carry passengers to nearby plantations and courthouses, which in turn is how Ferry Plantation House got its name. It is believed that there were 11 different ports and stops along this river and that it was used to transport goods, animals, and people. The second Princess Anne Court was built near where the current Old Donation Court stands on the plantation. This is important as at this time, witchcraft was feared and punished.
Of course it was.
Of course. In 1542, Parliament criminalized the practice of witchcraft. Here in Virginia, England's Witchcraft Law of 1604 passed by James I was upheld in criminal witchcraft cases. It was called, quote, an act against conjuration witchcraft dealing with evil and wicked spirits. A conjuration is an incantation or a spell.
So, you know how I'm a pretty spiteful person?
Mm-hmm.
If I was then and someone said, you can't, it's against the law, I would come up with every curse I could think of just to be like, well, watch me. And what are you going to do about it? It's magic. What are you going to do?
Well, I'll tell you what they're going to do.
Oh.
So most of the cases in Virginia dealt with malfeasance, which is causing harm to people or property by supernatural means.
How do they know?
They don't.
Okay.
That's the whole point of the witch trials.
Got it.
So the first witchcraft allegation on record in Virginia happened in 1626 to Joan Wright of James City County. Her neighbor accused her of having caused the death of a newborn, killing crops and livestock, and accurately predicting the deaths of fellow colonists. Wright was eventually acquitted, which I find was wild because she did admit to having knowledge of witchcraft practices.
She's like, yeah, I'm a witch. Whatever. Okay, well, thanks. You're good to go.
Thanks for your honesty.
Yeah, like the guy who said please.
Right. You can't get
Well,
since she was honest.
Since you said please.
Right. So one of the most popular Virginia witch trials happened right here at Ferry Plantation House. It was the case of Grace White Sherwood. Sherwood was known around the area as being a healer and a herbalist. People from all over would come to her due to her ability to heal all sorts of ailments. She knew plants, she knew crops, and she knew how to use all of that which was around her. But during this time, there was a fine line between being a healer and being a witch.
Of course there was.
And soon rumors started to pop up that Sherwood was practicing dark magic. Of course.
Mm-hmm.
And it also probably didn't help that she preferred pants over dresses.
So, there it is.
Obviously, that meant that she was dabbling with the devil.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Because she said, fuck that, I'm not wearing this hot-ass skirt.
Mm-hmm. I want to be able to run and, do squats and stuff.
Did I ever tell you about my mom's pants story? So my mom always loves, to say this because when she was in 4th grade, I think, they could start wearing pants to school.
That's wild.
When my mom was
Right.
in 4th grade and she had forgotten. And so she was one of the only ones not wearing pants. And she was like, for the rest of I wore pants every day after that.
I would too.
Yeah, right?
In 1698, she was accused by her neighbors of having, quote, bewitched their pigs to death, and also for the failure of their cotton crop. They were especially mad because the Sherwins' crops were doing so well while theirs were suffering and withering away.
Sounds like someone knows how to plant plants.
Exactly. She was an herbalist. Of course she knows how to do all of this stuff. Right.
It's literally her job.
Right.
Instead of asking, hey, why are you doing so well? Can I have some advice?
Mm-hmm.
That's so fucking...
Yep.
Fucking hate people.
So she was blamed for any hardship that anyone encountered after that, be it lost fortune, lost love, failed crops, death, all of that she was blamed for.
Sounds like someone can't take accountability for their actions.
Any misfortune was blamed on Sherwood.
Isn't that the name of the place in Robin Hood?
Oh.
Sherwood Forest?
I think it might be. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. One neighbor even went so far as to say that one night Sherwood had come into her room and then left, but she left through a keyhole or crack in the door like a black cat. Only dark magic would allow this to be possible.
I just laugh when I hear the things that people come up with, which I know obviously there's no logic behind it, but when I'm sitting here, I'm like, just think about that for a second.
Right.
Why the fuck would she come into your room?
Right. To just watch you and then
right,
leave?
and then leave.
Right.
It'd be one thing if she did something, but she just, came in, left through a keyhole?
Yeah. As a black cat.
As a black cat.
Of course. But one particularly bad rumor came out in 1706. A local woman named Elizabeth Hill tragically lost her child when she miscarried. Sherwood was immediately blamed. The trial of Grace Sherwood was held on July 10th, 1706 in the general court. The trial went on, and a lengthy investigation into these accusations was done, and all the other accusations. They just piled it all together. It was decided that the court would test Grace to see if she was a witch. So she was jailed for some time in the timber courthouse on this property, which no longer stands. She was held here while all of these decisions were being made. So the court finally decided that the way that they were going to test if Grace was a witch was by a technique called ducking.
I think I've heard of this.
You've definitely heard of it.
Yeah, I've definitely heard of this.
So her hands and feet would be bound together, and she would be tossed from a boat into the Livenhaven River, which the plantation sits on.
Mm-hmm.
This river at the time was also known as Witch Duck Creek. Very, very original. So if she sank, it meant that she wasn't a witch and was innocent because the water's a pure thing. The pure water accepted her, so she's going to sink. But if she doesn't sink and she floats instead, it means she's a witch because water's pure. So if you float instead, it means the water's rejecting you.
Yeah.
So literally, you can't win. Either you drown because you're innocent or you come up and you're a witch.
Yeah. There was one for that with fire too.
Was there?
I think when they were burned at the stake or whatever, if you...
Oh, didn't burn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you survived.
Yeah. Somehow, Grace managed to free herself from the binds and she floated right up to the top of the water.
Damn.
Yup.
Good for her.
She was found guilty of being a witch and spent the next 7 to 10 years imprisoned in the courthouse that sat on the plantation. But good for her for being a badass witch. Get it?
Ha!
So she was finally released from prison and lived out the rest of her life on the farm until the ripe old age of 80. There is a rumor that follows her supposed death, though. a book.
80 for the 1700s?
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, so she lived at least, I mean,
Maybe she was a witch.
I hope so. I hope she, you know.
Although,
But
if I was a witch and put in jail, I would just use my witchly powers to leave. I would not stay there.
So titled Haunted Virginia Beach, written by Alphys J. Tuning, says, quote, in spite of her death, rumors and stories continued. One tale says that on the night she died, she had her son set her barely living body in front of the fireplace. At the moment of her death, a strong wind blew down the chimney, filling the house with smoke and soot. When the room cleared, Grace was gone, and there was a cloven hoofprint in the ashes, left by the devil coming to reclaim his own.
Oh, my.
Yeah. In 1735, the third Princess Anne Courthouse was built to replace the timber courthouse and was used until 1751. Then in 1751, the stocks and pillory was taken from Ferry Plantation and used for a different courthouse built in Newtown. Very original name.
That was my head against the wall.
Our neighbor, like this complex is so noisy that if you close your door, sometimes it slams and everyone can hear it.
Yeah, no, that was my head.
So William Walk soon came to own the property with his family, and they built a manor house and used the old courthouse as their kitchen. I could not find much on his family other than that his daughter was named Sally Rebecca Walk.
Sally Rebecca Walk.
Yes. But on September...
Walk this way.
Talk this way. But on September 12th, 1828, their manor house burnt to the ground. Then in 1830, George McIntosh and Elizabeth Walk McIntosh used the good bricks to rebuild a new manor house, which they had originally built for their 17-year-old son, Charles Fleming McIntosh. So happy 17th birthday, here's a home.
I'm sorry that none of your birthday gifts will be a house.
That's okay.
Okay.
In this economy. At the beginning of the Civil War, the whole family was against the secession, but eventually Virginia did secede.
That was the thing. I remember learning about that in school and being so pissed that we were on the wrong side.
I know.
I'm like, seriously? And even like Robert E. Lee, like he only he had no desire to be in the Confederacy. Like he did not agree with any of it, but because he was from Virginia, he felt loyalty to it. Yeah, I was pissed in school when I figured that out. I'm like, damn it.
So with this, Charles resigned his USN commission and was then commissioned by the Confederate Navy and went on to become captain of the CSS Louisiana. The house that they built is the one that sits on the property today. So there's no telling when spirits were first noticed in the house, but activity can be reported back to at least the 20th century, and the house is still haunted today. It is believed that there are at least 11 spirits that call Ferry Plantation home.
You think they all know about each other?
I don't know. That's a good question. If they're like happy co-mingling or if they like
roomies
pass by each other. So at the ferry landing nearby, known as Cape Henry, on January 1st, 1811, the ship Lucy wrecked. All those on board lost their lives and are said to still be hanging around at the plantation. People have reported seeing ghostly figures and apparitions all around the property. I love the name Lucy.
Yeah, me too.
I love it so much, and Joe doesn't love it.
Why?
It makes me sad. I don't know.
I think it's a pretty name.
Thank you. I think it's so cute.
Yeah.
Then, of course, we have the Lady in White.
Of course.
Surprise, surprise. It is believed that she lived in the house and in 1826 broke her neck falling down the stairs. No one knows if she just fell or if she was pushed.
Probably pushed.
Probably. Or wearing one of those big old ball gowns.
Yeah, she probably tripped.
It is also believed that Grace Sherwood, our accused witch, haunts the plantation. She later became known as the Witch of Pungo, and posthumously,
What?
like after you die, many years later, posthumously. Yeah, that's it. She was found innocent. So she died. Many, many years later, they found her innocent. It's like after your death, you're found innocent. So it is believed that she haunts the property, not only from
You'd say postmortem.
But it's not postmortem.
But it's after death.
Yeah, but that's not the right word.
I'm just saying. It's still after death.
People know what we're saying now with all these different words. So she haunts the property not only from her imprisonment in a building on the property, but it is said that she is buried under one of the large trees on the plantation. Haunted Virginia Beach said, quote, every full moon, feral cats gather, climb into the tree and howl. Many people believe that Grace's spirit rises and joins them. Some residents in Witch Duck neighborhood have reported seeing the image of a woman with long, wet hair walking along the banks of the river at night. Creepy. Sally Rebecca Walk, the daughter of William Walk, who built the manor. Mackenzie!
Sorry.
You're as bad as Roy banging your head into things.
It's been one of those days where I just banging everything. Kicked my ankle on a basket because I had to step over a child that was laying on the floor.
So, Sally Rebecca Walk.
Yeah, sorry.
The daughter of the guy who built the manor. She's said to also haunt the plantation and is mainly seen in the gardens. Her fiancé, John, went off to war, but sadly was killed in action. She would roam the plantation waiting for him to come back. In 1836, she planted a magnolia tree in his memory. Now she is seen wandering around the garden and around her tree. So I'm not sure if it's the same one, but also in the backyard, there is another huge tree, which makes me think it might be the same one because how many huge trees are in this backyard?
Right.
This tree at one time, the one that I know of, was known as the hanging tree. The name fits
Oh,
exactly
yeah.
what it was once used for.
Yeah.
People have reported the sound of ropes tightening at the tree.
Ooh.
Apparitions have been seen hanging from the tree as well. The tree is thought to be completely dead as the inside is all hollowed out, but somehow its roots have stretched far enough to keep living. It's
Wow.
hollowed out so much on the inside that I was able to climb into it and like crouch because it's so hollowed out and there's an opening.
Oh, shit.
And you like look up into it and it's all hollow.
Oh, my
So
God.
it's wild how it's still alive.
Yeah.
And still just like doing its thing. So my ghost hunting group, JMU Ghost Hunters, we went to Ferry Plantation House, like I said, a ton of times to do investigations. On one of those investigations, we came to the tree with our phones to record an EMF meter and a flashlight. So the flashlight we brought had new batteries. We put them in that day, like that night when we were starting, and we were going to do the flashlight trick. So this is where you screw or unscrew the flashlight just to the point where you can tap it and it'll turn off and tap it and it'll turn off or turn on and off.
Okay.
So it's the way that you can like communicate with spirits.
Yeah.
So we started to do this with our flashlight and we started asking your typical questions like, is anyone here? You know, well, all of a sudden the flashlight started flashing like crazy, like strobe light flashing. So we like speed walked away from it. We walked to the side of the house away from the tree to like check the batteries and stuff. Well, everything was normal. The flashlight went right back to normal, being a normal flashlight, like stopped flashing.
Yeah.
So we went back to the tree and it started doing it again.
Oh,
like,
my God.
Flashing quiet, like randomly. So we were like, thank you. Thank you for your time.
We're going to go.
We're going to let you be here and we're going to go back inside. Stopped that session and ran back inside. There were times when the house stood unoccupied, mainly between 1986 and 1996, but neighbors would report that lights inside the house were turning on.
Oh, fuck that.
According to volunteers, this is still something that happens, and it has become part of the daily duties to go around and make sure the lights are off at the end of the night.
Nope. I just leave them on.
But often,
I'm not going back in there.
Volunteers will find that even though they turn them off, the lights will be turned back on when they return the next morning.
Right. Like, it's the same way that when I turn the lamp up too high, Albert gets mad.
Right.
And as soon as I turn it down,
he's happy.
He's fine. So it's like, just fucking leave the lights on.
And this light stuff mainly happens on the third floor of the building. So back in the day when things were much darker, literally, balls of light were seen dancing around the roof. Could those be those flashlight people who are lost in Florida, perhaps?
Maybe. Finally found their way out.
On top of a roof. Back in the 1980s, the house was owned by a Miss Howren. She was getting a bit older, so she hired caretakers to watch over the house and take care of it while she was transitioning to a nursing home. These caretakers started noticing a lot of strange things happening in the house. Usually on Saturday evenings, the caretakers would see residual haunts taking place. These are haunts where the ghost is acting out something that once happened over and over and over again. So it's like they're stuck in a cycle.
Yeah.
So this next one is one that I heard when I was on the tour before we did our first investigation. So this was of an older African-American man. He would walk up from the basement, cross the room over to this west wall, kneel in front of the wall for a little bit, stand up and leave. And he would do this all the time, go right back down, come back up the next day. Years later, restorations took place and it was found that there had been an old fireplace in the spot where he would constantly kneel.
Oh.
So it is believed he would come up from being cold in the basement, kind of warm himself up and continue going down and doing his work.
Aww.
So we did an investigation in this room. So there are two sides of the house. One is the main side where the family would live and all the rooms and the living room and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And the other side is kind of where the helper would live. It's the kitchen, it's the fireplace, it's kind of that stuff. And if I remember correctly, his name was Henry. So Henry was a big guy, about 6'7". People say that he is typically nice, but he can get a little mean. Like if you're messing around with the house or kind of just being a doof, he's been known to pull hair and push people.
Ouch.
So the room that has the fireplace is right under where Henry's room was. So first we went into Henry's room to look around. It now just is like a storage place. It has like Halloween decorations and stuff. Well, when we went up there, we all started to get like trouble breathing. Like you have that really tight chest. I got a really bad headache. And then the moment we stepped out of the room, all of that went away.
Oh my God.
And that's like a very common thing that people report in that room. So I did not go do any investigations in that room.
No,
So
fuck that.
Someone doesn't want us here.
Yeah.
Another member in our room.
You took the hint.
Right. Like some people don't. Another member in our group, he was standing there and he just like all of a sudden rapidly turns around. And I was like, you cool? And he was like, I felt a gust of wind like go by me. There's like a lot of creepy stuff up there. So when we did an investigation in the room downstairs that had the fireplace in it, we sat on the floor, we had our recordings going, we had our K2, we had all of that. And we're just like talking and
What's
asking
K2?
the K2 meter, so the EMF detector.
Oh,
It
okay.
also goes by K2.
Okay.
So we're just talking, and they say like when you want to get the EVPs, electronic voice phenomenon, you just talk.
Okay.
And you'll hear them in the background. Like they're
Yeah.
not really going to answer as much if you're saying, "Hey, is anyone here?" They're more likely to join in on your conversations if you're just chatting. So that's what we were doing. Not too much was happening in the room, but then we started to hear footsteps around us,
Ooh.
and we could hear them in person, and we could hear them when we listened to the recorder afterwards. And
Ah.
what we would always do is we had walkie-talkies. So we would walkie-talkie and be like, "Hey, is anyone else walking around? Like we want to, see if anyone's moving." No one else was moving around. So yeah, we heard it in person and on our recorders.
Like that.
So I was able to confirm that there were some investigators who got EVPs where they did discover that the spirit's name was Henry, that he lived on the 3rd floor of the old kitchen, so that area that we were in. He spent his whole life on the plantation, even after the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, 1863. These investigators found out that Henry had nowhere else to go, but actually was really content with his life here. His favorite pastime was going fishing. Docent, which is like a teacher, smart kind of person. Her name was Miss Nash. She used to come to Ferry Plantation House often with her granddaughter Kathleen. When Kathleen was old enough to talk, she started mentioning that she would often see a man with a beard on the 2nd floor landing painting a picture. Well, not long after, Miss Nash received a copy of a watercolor painting of what the walk, manor, and farm had looked like back in the early 1800s.
Oh, shit.
This had been painted by General Williamson back in the 1800s. Since then, a photo of General Williamson has been discovered. He matched Kathleen's description of the man she would see to a T.
Oh, snap.
So it is believed that the spirit of General Thomas H. Williamson haunts the house, usually on the 2nd floor landing painting.
Interesting.
He was the son of owners Thomas and Anne Walk Williamson. The caretakers also reported seeing 2 children running around the house, a little boy and a little girl. When caretakers saw the 2 of them on the 2nd floor landing pressed up against the wall at the top of the stairs, but after locking eyes, the 2 kids quickly disappeared. It is believed that the little girl is the spirit of Bessie McIntosh, the daughter of Charles F. and Isabella McIntosh. It is believed that she passed away in 1860 at the young age of 5 due to consumption, but some believe that she maybe died due to yellow fever because it was like really rampant at the time. She is often described as wearing...
Did you have to read that book?
Which one?
Yellow Fever of 1963 or 1763?
Mm-mm.
Oh my God.
Was it sad? Did everyone die?
Everyone in her family, yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, we didn't have to read that.
That's the only part I remember. It's like the beginning.
Wow, sad.
I still couldn't read at this point. I was in 6th grade.
Oh. So, she is described as wearing Mary Jane shoes and having ringlets. This description does happen to fit the description of the actual Bessie, whose portrait still hangs at Ferry Plantation House.
Ooh.
But okay, what is sad and what was common practice at the time, the photo of Betsy that they have, she was actually deceased in the photo because at the time, photos weren't a big or popular thing, like they were kind of expensive. So if a younger person passed away, chances are that there weren't many photos of them.
Right.
So in order to preserve their memories, photos were taken of them after their death.
Oh.
Which is also super creepy. If you look at old pictures and say there's like 4 people in the picture, the 3 living people will be kind of blurry because pictures took so long to develop. The person who has passed away will be completely still, perfect outline, like perfect details. Because they're not moving.
Oh, I am so... So do you mean to tell me that they sat a corpse...
Yep. On like a chair, and then they would all sit around it and take pictures.
Like Weekend at Bernie's type shit?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, you got to do what you got to do, but shit.
Yeah. Yeah. But Bessie is described as being a very sweet and friendly spirit. Cody Green was an investigator with Acid Paranormal. He came to the house one day to investigate and just fell in love. So he's now the vice president of the board of directors with the Friends of the Ferry Plantation House.
Nice.
It's a nonprofit that looks over and cares for the home. He says that whenever he enters the house, he says, "Hi, house." Then he gets a hug he believes from Bessie right around his thighs.
Aww,
Isn't that sweet?
That's cute.
So the little boy that has been seen is believed to be Eric. Now, what is now the conference room has a window that is really low to the ground. Tragically, when Eric was very young, also probably around 5, he lost his life when he fell from that window. It's believed this incident occurred in 1850. It said that toys will move on their own in this room, and children's voices have been picked up both on EVPs and in person. So now my experience in this room. This was the biggest experience I've ever had. Okay, so there were 2 women who were on the trip with us. They were both volunteers. One claimed to be a psychic medium, and one just was there. So at the time, it was all girls in the room. It was me and 3 other girls in my investigation group. So we were like, we're going to be a girl room, maybe to not scare the little boy. So we're in the room, we're sitting in our circle, we're just kind of chatting, and the medium says that she sensed a young presence come into the room. We had a heat gun thermometer thing, and she goes, point it right there. And so we did, and the temperature that was in the room was like 70, dropped to 50 at that spot.
Oh, shit.
So we're like, okay, that was really weird. Like, that was very weird.
Yeah.
So the cold spot moved, and we like saw where it moved to. And the medium lady said that she felt a small hand on her leg, like
Oh.
little Eric's leg. We kept hearing things move behind us. So they were like, they had set up some displays or something because they do tours.
Right.
So they had some displays and stuff, and they had moved it out of the way for us to do our investigations. But you're hearing things like tinking in the background. And none of us are like turning to look because we don't want to scare him.
Right.
But you can hear it in the
You can
background.
hear it, yeah.
And obviously, we're all sitting together. Like, no one's tinking things.
Right.
So we did the flashlight thing where we unscrewed it a little bit, and we would ask, like, hey, Eric, if you're in the room, can you turn the flashlight off? And we would go back to talking, and we would look, and the flashlight would be off. And then we're like, okay, if you're here, can you turn it back on? It would turn back on. So at one point, the medium lady felt a second presence. The thermal thing confirmed this, and we believe that was Bessie.
Oh.
So we had the two little kids in here. And then she said she felt a very malevolent male spirit enter the room.
What does that mean?
Malevolent, like evil.
Oh, okay.
Like bad
Okay.
energy. So she felt this bad energy enter the room, and she said that she felt the kids were scared of this energy.
Oh, no.
So we look at the door, and I'm not kidding you when I say I have never seen a shadow figure before. I saw a shadow walk into the room. Oh, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. It was so scary. I see a shadow walk into the room, and there was a phone on like one of the tables there that had like the red light to say it was on. The shadow passed in front of that, so the light went away and then went back on as if something had passed in front of it. So we're all like, okay, so we're kind of freaking out a little bit. And how the house is set up is up on the floor, you go up the stairs and you turn right, and there's one room, and then you go through that room into the room that we were in. So what this was used for was if parents were sleeping in that room, they would have their daughters in the other room, so the daughters couldn't sneak out and boys couldn't sneak in. So it's two rooms. And the room that we had to walk through was this lady named Stella used to live in that room. And the story with Stella goes that she was a young woman. She would go out picking mushrooms, but one day she picked a bad one and died after ingesting it. So she died in this room. So we're in Eric's room, and we see in Stella's room a light. There's like a blue light, and it starts really, really dim and then gets really bright and then really dim and then really bright and really dim. And so we walkie-talkie everyone, and we're like, hey, is anyone shining a flashlight up onto the second floor? We're up here, we're seeing a weird light. Like, is anyone doing anything? No. And the house is far back enough from the road that it's not going to be.
Yeah, it wouldn't
car
be like a
lights.
car.
Right. So that was super freaky. So we're in the room, we have this like dark presence. And then after a while, we decide to call the session. So that just means you're pretty much saying, you know, it's this person, this person, this person in this room. It's this time. We're in this room. We're calling the session, just kind of ending it. And I'm holding the phone that I'm doing the recording in. And I kid you not, there's only women in this room. All of a sudden, behind us, we hear boo. And we scream and we turn around and look behind us. There's no men in this room. And so I heard it, two of the other
And it's an old
investigators
house, so
heard
it's not like someone could like do that and run away.
Right. And the room we were in, you're not passing us.
Right.
We were. And I have it on my recording, you can hear the boo, but on my recording, it sounds like I had dropped my phone.
Oh.
So you don't hear the boo, but we heard it very clearly.
Yeah.
We're getting out of here. So all of us are too scared to be in this room by ourselves.
Right.
To be the last one in here. But all of us are too scared to be the first ones in that room.
Right.
So there's three of us trying to squeeze through the door together. So we're all in the same rooms together. But oh my God, that was like my scariest experience.
That's terrifying.
Like a shadow figure, hearing this like just malevolent voice. Because how
I would have been
took
gone a
it
long time ago.
was it's an evil male spirit who's trying to do the stereotypical, oh, let me scare them by saying boo.
Yeah.
Terrifying. So there's another room.
Although if I was a ghost, I would probably fucking do that.
Oh, absolutely. So there's another room right across the hall from Eric's room, and this is now the gift shop. And there are pendulums in there. So what a pendulum is, it's a thing that hangs on a string, and you can do pendulum sessions. So you can say like, if the answer is yes, go in a circle. If the answer is no, stay still. So we were getting like some intelligent answers with that, but I wasn't the one holding it, so I don't know,
Sure.
So when we're in there, we had groups all over the house. I was with like two other girls in this room. At one point, I heard what sounded like a door creak or something. So I radioed to everyone, all of the group, saying like, hey, is anyone moving around? Is anyone opening or closing doors? Because the point of our group was to see if like We could find scientific reasons for things.
Sure.
So anytime you hear a weird noise, you ask what it is. Well, one of the volunteers that was there said that we probably just heard the ghost cat.
The ghost cat.
It's known to walk around, meow, jump up and down.
Maybe
from
that's
places.
the one that went through the keyhole.
Maybe. So that creak could have been a meow. Because I asked, I was like, a creak, was that a meow? Like, it sounded very weird.
Yeah.
So it was confirmed. We believe that it was the ghost cat.
Huh.
We also had one of our groups up in the attic. So one girl saw a tail that she also
You could not pay me to go in an attic or a basement of a haunted place.
No. So she believed to see a tail. So she thinks that was the tail of the ghost cat.
Mm.
And it's been seen by many, many different paranormal groups. Like, it's a very commonly known thing that there's a ghost cat in the house. So there's also a trickster ghost. So one of our groups was talking out loud, asking the ghosts if they would like to help them pull a prank on a group that was upstairs. So they asked out loud if the ghosts would go up to the group upstairs and do something to freak them out. Well, at the end of the session, the group from the attic comes running downstairs and starts to explain all of these weird things that have been happening upstairs.
Oh, fuck.
They said that all of a sudden, they're just like talking and chatting. They heard what can only be described as a ton of marbles hitting the floor. They looked all around the entire room and could not find a single thing that would have caused that noise. None of us else in the house heard it. And so it was just them. So one of the girls was like, thanks, ghost.
If I was in there and I found out you did that, I would kill you.
Oh, I told a ghost to go mess with you?
Yes.
Well, it was because all the guys were upstairs. And so we're like, go scare them.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
It was awesome.
Definitely.
This house has been investigated by a ton of paranormal groups. There have been over 600 investigations.
Damn.
Most of the groups will report the apparitions, unexplained sounds, wild EVPs, just a ton of evidence is collected in this house. Maybe it is the actual most haunted house. But there have been some photographic evidence that has been caught as well. Port City Paranormal, based in Williamton, North Carolina, took a picture in the green room and noticed an anomaly in the window. They saw a dress with a white apron type thing and potentially a dog sitting next to that dress. Obviously, there was nothing in the room or outside that could have caused this reflection.
Right.
Then we have the best parlor. This paranormal group described this room as being very cold, dark, uninviting, just very not a welcoming place. They took a picture in the best parlor and caught a photo of what appeared to be a sad-looking pregnant woman in a blue dress staring out the window, like reflected in the window. And they actually have this photo like on display in the house. The woman is believed to be Miss Charles Fleming McIntosh. Her husband served in the Civil War with the Confederate Navy, but was killed in action. He had been the captain of the Ironclad, Louisiana. In 1862, it was destroyed by David Farragut's Union armies, which that's a popular name. Like, I've heard that name before.
What?
David Farragut? I've heard it before. So the husband died on May 13th from his injuries. She was 8 months pregnant when she received the news.
Ooh.
In June, she gave birth to their son, Charles Jr. So the best parlor. We did a ton of investigations in this room. Unlike what the Port City paranormal team said, we found it very full, warm, inviting, cozy, like just a very welcoming room. So this room, at the time, it used to be an observation room.
Okay.
And what I mean by this is, in the olden times, when someone passed away, as the funeral was being planned and prepared for, the body would be in this room so the family could view it, spend time together with the deceased.
Sure.
So another interesting fact, at this time, medical things just weren't good.
No shit.
So people could drink too much and easily slip into a coma, and everyone would assume that the person was dead.
See, okay, this right here, this is exactly why I'm going to be cremated. Because I swear to God.
You're going alive. You're not coming out alive.
Honestly, really what set me over the edge was Romeo and Juliet. Because they buried them because they thought they were both dead.
They were both dead.
No, they weren't.
Oh.
They took like that sleeping thing.
Yeah.
One woke up before the other.
Right.
Killed themselves. The other one woke up, saw the other one dead, and then killed themselves.
Right.
Right. But originally, they were playing dead.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ew. Oh.
Yeah.
Buried alive things.
Yeah. And then shit like this.
Yeah.
Like,
so
if I'm cremated, I'm dead.
Well, at least now what a pulse is. And know
True,
that a pulse
but,
means you're alive.
but still, like, this is by far one of my biggest fears.
Medical has come, there's been many advances.
You know what? You never know.
So, at this time, many people were being buried alive.
What if someone puts me in a medically induced coma and they don't know that someone has put me in this coma and they think I'm dead?
But you're not dead when you're in a coma. And if you're in a medically induced coma, you're
Well, what if it's one of those things where it's like you're almost dead?
You're still alive. Anywho, as a precaution, the deceased person would be laid out somewhere and a bell would be tied to their toe. so that if they were alive, eventually they would wake up, causing the bell to move.
That's a good idea. Like,
But
that's
also terrifying. Like,
well, yeah, but it's pretty innovative for the time. Like, they might be dead, they might not be dead. Let's just put this bell here just in case.
so you have people waiting 3 or 4 days with this body in the room just to wait to see if you hear a bell.
Oh my God.
So picture being asleep in bed and you just hear.
Oh my God.
I know. So keeping the person out for a little bit would allow the family to find out if they were actually alive or if they were actually dead. We never got too much when we were in this room doing investigations. Like, we would chat, we would hear like maybe a little whisper here or there. One of our fellow team members claimed that her back was touched while we were in there, though. One time we investigated, we were allowed to stay overnight.
No.
So, and we had to because like typically we had some people who lived in Virginia Beach in the group and we would stay at their house. But for this one, we just like, we weren't able to make it work. Like, I think their parents were out of town or something. So we just weren't able to make it work. So the volunteers stayed with us and we asked them, when you guys stay the night, which room do you prefer to sleep in? And they said the best parlor. They said it gave off the best energy, the warmest vibes. So that's where we decided to sleep. So all of us had our sleeping bags ready to go. It's probably about 4 o'clock.
I think I remember you telling me.
I was dating Joe at the time. He was with me.
I think I remember you telling me about the fact that you guys were going to sleep like in
So
the thing.
We get our sleeping bags ready. We go to bed probably about 4 o'clock because you have to investigate during the witching hour of 3 a.m. So we're going to bed about 4 a.m. And it was like early in the morning, like 6:30 or so. And I wake up and I notice that none of my team members are in the room anymore.
Fuck that.
It's just Joe and I. So I wake him up and I'm like, what the heck? And mind you, we had like 6 people with us for this investigation. Like, there was a large group of us. So Joe and I get up and we walk into the hall and we see all the others are standing like chilling out there. And I was like, why did y'all leave us? Like, why didn't you wake us up? And one of the girls goes, I heard whispers in there when we were all sleeping, so I got scared and left.
Bitch!
And I said, so you left us in the whisper room?
Well, why did everyone else get up and leave?
Because they saw her get up, so they left. And I was like, y'all left us sleeping in the room with the whispers?
See, that's how you know that you will never have to worry about that with me, because I would be screaming, so you would have woken up.
And the house was so creepy that, like, when it was bedtime, all the lights were off and stuff. If someone had to go to the bathroom, they would wake someone else up and be like, can you come with me?
I probably would have, like, fireman held you over my shoulder and be like, we're leaving!
So we quickly left after that because everyone was like, all right, we've been in here for far too long. But yeah, so that is the Ferry Plantation House. Those are my investigation stories. More will probably pop into my head as time goes on, but from what I remember, those are like the big stories.
Well, that was really cool that you like tied it in with your story.
Yes, it was fun reading because I'm like, I've been here.
Yeah, that was, now we get a firsthand experience.
And we should go, like, at least for a tour, because
I won't go at night.
You can take it my way. I never went to places that had, like, other than the weird male malevolent spirit that came into the room, I would never go to a place that had evil spirits there. So any place I went, it was like at least happy spirits. Because when we went to St. Albans, I was having a family event that day, so I couldn't go because I was too scared. Well, because like I was the historian, so I would always do like the research on the places we were going, which fits so perfectly that I do this now. But so I would talk about like the hauntings and kind of what we were to expect there. And one of them, it said there was a spirit powerful enough to possess the living. And I looked at that and I said, no. And so I texted our like president and I was like, hey, I am so sorry. I didn't know, but I have like a family reunion that day. I can't go. I am so sorry. Me, mom, dad, and Jared went to the aquarium. Because I was too scared.
Oh my God. I still remember when you first told me about this group. I'm like, I'm sorry, you're doing what?
I don't know why either, because at that time I still don't watch scary movies.
Mm-mm.
That's, I think, what brought me into the scary
And it probably didn't help. But if you told me you were going to St. Albans, I probably been like, well, they do a haunted house every year. And I know lots of people that go and bad things happen.
Right. Because didn't like your big or something get scratched?
Yeah.
Yeah.
People have gotten scratched.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. But so all the places I went had nice spirits.
If I'm going to go anywhere haunted, we're going to have to start during the day.
Okay. I mean, they do like historic tours.
Not necessarily for a tour, just to get into the house. Like, this is going to have to be a baby steps kind of thing.
Okay.
Because I
We'll do
like
baby
listening to your stories and then trying to imagine myself there. I'm like, I can't, because I would have left. I would have been so afraid. And I'm like, why? That's why I stopped watching scary movies. Why do this to yourself? Why go into a situation you know is going to cause you anxiety. Just avoid.
I would get to the point, though, where sometimes after, like, a really intense investigation, like, something big would happen, I would have to take the next session off. And I was like, y'all go do your session. Because we would always have, like, a base camp. And that was the room we would set everything up.
Yeah,
and kind
yeah,
of be
yeah.
where you would hang out when other people were doing investigations. So there were, like, 1 or 2 times during the time I was there where I was like, I just need to sit. I can't do another one right now. I do remember, though, see, things that I forgot. When we were in the base camp room and I was waiting, one of the investigators was waiting in there with me, just chilling. And she was like, oh, I see the general, like, over in the corner. It was like a sight, like, she could see all
Yeah,
the
yeah,
stuff. Yeah, so that was probably Williamson, the painter guy.
Oh.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. And I was like, I don't, and I'm not going to look.
I will take your word for it.
I was like, thank you for letting me know, but we're good.
Oy vey.
But yeah, so that's Ferry Plantation House.
That's a great story.
Thank you.
I very much enjoyed it.
Thank you.
I like the personal touch.
Thank you.
So.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with this one. I was actually nervous to tell this one because I was like, this is my personal stuff. So, all right, Mackenzie, what do you have for Virginia?
So, when I began to research our home state, I did become slightly concerned about the spooky things that I would uncover. Because no one actually likes to face their fears.
Yeah, you do a true crime and paranormal podcast. Okay.
I'm not facing any of these people.
But you're talking about them.
Talking and reading are not the same as seeing in person and having to interact with.
Okay, valid.
Thank you. So I figured that Virginia had its fair share of haunted places given its history, but most of them were Civil War related, and I was looking for a juicy story. So I turned my attention to the true crime route, and of course, I was met with a plethora of options, which was also a little scary. And so I double-checked with Lauren's vast knowledge of all things spooky to ensure that this story that I had found would be okay to cover. I was very excited when she said she didn't know anything about it.
I was very excited when you told me, and I had no idea what it was.
Yeah. So she knew of, but not about. So we were ready to rock and roll.
Oh, yeah.
Rock and roll.
Rock and roll.
Rock and roll. So the more I looked into it, the more I discovered about it, obviously. And
That's typically our research work.
right. And while there was a substantial amount of information, it was the first I'd ever heard about these crimes that had occurred in my home state. One of the last articles I read told about the families or how they're still looking for answers. So yes, this means that this case is unsolved, but that doesn't mean I don't have some good theories for you to ponder at the end.
Okay.
So today I share the story of Kathy Thomas, Rebecca Dowski, David Knobling, Robin Edward, Cassandra Haley, Richard Call, Daniel Lauer, and Anna Maria Phelps.
Oh, one time when I was younger, I was telling Dad, like, what friends I was inviting to my birthday party, and I was like, and Anne. And he was like, and who? And I said, Anne. And he goes, and who? And I was like, no, that's her name. Her name is Anne. And he goes, oh.
It's like, who's on second?
Right, right.
So the FBI and the state police believe that they were all victims of a serial killer and dubbed them the Colonial Parkway Murders. So between 1986 and 1989, there were 4 double homicides that had occurred somewhere along the 23-mile or 32 kilometers stretch of Colonial Parkway.
4 double homicides?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
The road connected the historic area of Williamsburg and Jamestown in York town. I just wrote York. My bad. Which for those of you not native to the Virginia area is on the eastern side of the state near the coast.
And NCIS and Criminal Minds do an awful job of explaining the geography of Virginia.
In case you are an avid fan, you cannot take the metro from Quantico into this. They're not connected. They're like over an hour away from each other. Yeah. Not even relatively close to one another.
And that's an hour without traffic.
Right. And we're talking 95. Like, it is smack dab in the middle of where there is the worst traffic by far in the fucking state.
Yes.
All of it's inaccurate.
Or they can get to Quantico and like, I'll be there in 20 minutes.
Right.
No, you will not.
When NCIS is talking about going to Newport News, like, they might as well just live in Virginia Beach because Newport News is one of the biggest naval bases.
Right.
Which makes sense for this show to take place there. However, they're going from what, DC to Virginia Beach in like 45 minutes? I'm like, no.
That's like a 3-hour drive.
Without traffic.
Right.
And depends on where you're going.
Now that we're in Virginia, we have some grievances.
Right.
All right, go on.
One fun fact, though, is that during the pandemic, when Day and I were locked in the house, we were bored.
Oh, but you see it. Yeah.
And so we created a lot of drinking games. And one of the drinking games we made was we watched Criminal Minds, and then we would drink every time they did something very inaccurate about DC.
I love that.
It was so much fun.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
How drunk did you get?
I don't remember. So, anywhooser, part of the parkway goes through a national park and has well-known lookouts and lovers' lanes spots. All victims had been couples, all within a 30-mile radius of Colonial Parkway. All crimes involved the victim's vehicle. And some of the stories about these crimes can be gruesome, so feel free to skip around. Mm-hmm. Another disclaimer. Some of the information I found about these cases, mainly the crimes, are slightly inconsistent. They all have the same basic facts,
okay,
but there was always like an extra detail kind of mentioned somewhere.
There always is, it seems.
So I tried my best to kind of weed out and confirm the details across the sources.
Right.
You know, if I only saw it at one place, I tried not to include it. But if I saw it, you know, in a couple of places, I was like, okay. Sometimes it was like, oh, this place was 100 and the other 60 or whatever.
Oh.
Yeah. So it was like kind of off.
Yeah.
Kathy Thomas graduated from the U.S. Naval Academy in 1981 and was part of the second class to admit women. 1981.
Wow.
1981.
Ridiculous. Right.
40 years ago. Anyway, Kathy served as a logistics officer on the L.Y. Spear and was responsible for the movement of cranes and torpedoes, which I thought was badass.
Yeah.
Kathy left the Navy in 1986 because of an investigation into her sexual orientation.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Kathy was a lesbian, and as we know, the military was, and still not, very accepting of people from the LGBT plus community. Her brother Bill Thomas told producers of Lovers Lane Murders that Kathy had been investigated by 9 agents about her sexuality.
Wow.
So she left the Navy and actually started a very successful career as a stockbroker.
Good for her.
Kathy also started a relationship with Becca Dowski, who was a student at the College of William and Mary.
Oh, I keep forgetting we're in Virginia. So when you're like, William and Mary, I'm like, that is so close.
I know that place.
Oh, boy.
There's a song. I don't know who sings it. It's not something that you or I would listen to, but it's always played when I go to like my friends' houses for pre-games and things like that. We'll just like cycle through music videos. And I remember the first time I saw it, I'm like, that looks like my sister's middle school. That kind of looks like the trees in Reston. And it was, because one of the singers on the song is from literally Reston, had my sister's middle school in it. There was a path and bridge thing that was featured in it that my sister and I would always ride our bikes under. It connected like the South Lake Shopping Center to the other side of the road.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wild.
It was, I was like, that's in Virginia. And everyone's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? I'm like, that's right in Virginia. Like, that's near us.
Andy Grammer has a song, Honey, I'm Good, where
I love that song.
Yeah, part of the music video is filmed on JMU's campus.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's something with a B.
Yes, we can find it with just that.
It's not Bad Bunny. Wait. But it's definitely something with a B. Maybe Benny?
Oh.
Bunny Benny?
That's a name.
Benny something? Anyway, she had been working 2 jobs while taking classes, and one was at a daycare and the other was with the college's English department as a clerk. So on the evening of October 9th, 1986, Kathy and Rebecca were last seen leaving a computer lab to head home. The 2 women did not report to work or class the next day, and their families reported them missing. On October 12th, a jogger had spotted a white 1980 Honda Civic down an embankment that was not clearly visible from the road. When police arrived, they found the bodies of 21-year-old Rebecca Dowski and 27-year-old Kathy Thomas.
Oh, no.
Rebecca's body had been found in the back seat of the car, and Kathy's was found in the trunk.
What?
Police found all the women's personal belongings in their car, including wallets, purses, jewelry.
So nothing was taken?
Mm-mm. So investigators did not believe that robbery had been a motive. The autopsy revealed that both women had been bound with a rope around their wrist, strangled, and their throats had been slit. Mm-hmm. A few reports even said that either one or both of the women's throats had been cut so deeply that they were nearly decapitated.
Was there, you might get to this, you might not even have the answer, was there blood found in the car?
So that was one of the things that it was hard to tell if that was like a true fact. Oh. But one of the things I kept seeing was that there was not a lot of blood. Like, it didn't seem like it happened there where they found the car.
Right, that's what I was wondering.
But
okay.
I only saw that in like 1 or 2 places. And so I was trying to confirm to see if that was something police actually noticed and thought of.
Right.
But it was mentioned.
Okay, so we're a little iffy on those.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Thankfully, neither woman had been sexually assaulted, although being decapitated, I guess, really isn't
Yeah.
a step up. They had been covered in gasoline, and the police found cigarette butts spread throughout the car. They had assumed that the killer had tried to burn the car and the bodies, but both failed to ignite.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, the case went cold and was turned over to the FBI because the women had been found on federal property, so the national park. It's like a national park.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Mm-hmm. So Bill Thomas, Kathy's brother, has spent the years following Kathy's murder trying to bring awareness and justice for his sister.
Oh.
He helps to manage a Facebook page about the Colonial Park Murders that currently has about 14,000 followers. He also hosts a podcast with Kristen Deely. I don't know who that is.
Oh, I've heard that name before.
Okay. Called Mind Over Murder, and it extensively covers the Colonial Park Murders. In 2010, the FBI met with the family to share a status about the cases. About 10 years later, Bill was contacted by the FBI to say that they were testing the DNA in his sister's case. But as of October 2021, Bill had not heard about any new information.
Dang.
He hopes that with renewed attention and advancements in DNA, his sister's murder will finally be brought to justice. I did not really find that much about Rebecca's family, but she is included as one of the victims of the Colonial Parkway Murders and is on the Facebook page. Mm-hmm. And whenever Bill talks about it, he always says, my sister was killed with her girlfriend.
Right.
Yeah.
Aww.
The only mention of family I could find in print was a comment from her sister-in-law, Ginny Minark. She told Lover's Lane Murders that Rebecca, quote, enjoyed going to the Gap and dressing well, whatever the trend was. Just a beautiful woman. So if you do have information regarding the murders of Kathy Thomas and Rebecca Dowski, or any of the Colonial Parkway murders, you can call the Norfolk VA FBI field office at 757-455-0100, or you can check out the Facebook page at facebook.com/Colonial Parkway Case. So the connection between our next two victims is a little shaky. And what's funny is I can't believe I hesitated at this guy's last name because it's Knob. And I'm like, you think it's Knobbling? And I'm like,
how many times do you yell at people? You're like,
it's not knife.
I was literally just going to say
well,
that.
Hence why I stopped myself. I said, no, it's like your last name, Knobbling. I got it right. It was a thought. It was not something in execution. Anyway, so 20-year-old David Knobbling was living in Hampton and working at his father's landscaping company. I'm not exactly sure how he met or his relationship with 14-year-old Robin Edwards.
How old was he?
20.
Ugh.
Now, if you're thinking the same thing I am, just hear me out for a second. Some reports said that the two were dating, and Robin had snuck out to see David on the night of September 19th, 1987. One report I read said that they had met at an arcade, and that's when alarm bells really went off for me.
Yeah.
However, another one said that David was expecting a child with his longtime girlfriend, and he had taken Robin and his younger brother out earlier that day. The only thing that they seemed to have in common was that Robin snuck out to see David that night and was never seen again.
No 20-year-old man should be interested in a 14-year-old girl.
Well, even the one that said...
meeting at night.
Right.
Nothing. None of that.
Even the one that said that, he had taken her to meet up with his his younger brother. They were like, but she still snuck out to see him.
Right.
And even in a lot of the reports, because police thought that they had a sexual relationship, they weren't going to be able to tell if there was sexual assault.
Right. Oh, right.
But while, yes, creepy, David didn't actually, besides, dating someone far too fucking young.
Yeah.
He didn't actually do anything.
Okay.
So.
Still don't like him.
Right. Still creepy.
Yes.
So I'm not 100% sure of the timeline of events that happened before they were found, but what I gathered was that David Ford's Ranger was found in a parking lot or a bridge in Ragged Island Wildlife Refuge, and a few days later, the couple was found along the bank of the James River.
The guy and her? Oh.
Yep. They were about a 30-minute drive from where Kathy and Rebecca had been found. The truck had been found with the window slightly rolled down and the keys were still in the ignition. Police also found wallets belonging to each of the victims. It looked to police as if they might have been interacting with law enforcement since the window was kind of rolled down and their wallets had been out. David had been shot in the head and the shoulder as if he'd been running away from the perpetrator, and Robin had been shot in the back of the head execution style. Like the other ones, David and Robin's case also eventually went cold, and they were about a year after Kathy. So Jeanette Santiago is the sister of Robin Edwards. She described Robin as having a firecracker personality and got along with everyone. She was full of energy and not afraid of anything. So Jeanette had told Lover's Lane Murders that Robin had recently been struggling with her mental health. She had run away in the past and was known for having reckless behavior, but Jeanette said that Robin had gotten into therapy and was making great progress. Robin was fascinated by the circus and even had dreams to run off with the Ringling Brothers.
Wow.
Jeanette's son was 1 at the time of her sister's murder and was now grown up with 3 kids of his own. So Robin and David's case was/is still being investigated by the Virginia State Police. Jeanette had been told by the state police at some point that there was DNA evidence in her sister's case and possible advanced testing that could be done, but she has not heard much else, and I don't know when she was told about this either. It didn't say. She really hasn't heard much else about the case over the years as it passes from person to person. So like the others, Jeanette hopes that with advances in DNA that her sister's case can also be closed.
Yeah.
I didn't see any if you have any information.
Right.
But if the Virginia State Police are the ones that are running the investigation, you could probably also contact the FBI since I know that they're working together.
Yeah. I mean, they'd probably be able to point you in the right direction.
Right. But if you wanted to call the state police, I don't know specifically who you would contact directly, but their phone number is 804-674-2000. You can also visit their website and go to the Contact Us page at vsp.virginia.gov/contact. You will find directions on how you can send a message to get in contact with the police.
Oh, okay.
And then I think even from there, they'll send you to the right place.
Yeah.
But you can, like I said, call the FBI field office in Norfolk, Virginia, and then there's still the Facebook page, which covers everybody.
Right.
So on to our third friends. So Richard Keith Call was 20 years old and attended Christopher Newport University.
I almost went there.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah.
I was glad you didn't. That was too far. He was a computer science major and was described by his family as being an old soul. He loved to go out to the beach and toy with his new at-home computer. Cassandra, or Sandy Haley, was a freshman at CNU who occasionally modeled and loved gymnastics. The two were going on a date to see a movie and attend a party. Their first date.
Aww.
Yeah. Some reports said that this was the couple's first date. Sorry. I didn't know if I included that in there. They were last seen leaving the party on April 9th, 1988. Keith's red Toyota Celica was found at York River Overlook, only a couple miles from where Kathy and Rebecca had been found.
Gosh.
Several, or possibly all, not really sure, of their clothing had been found inside the car, and the glove box may have been open along with the driver's side door, and wallet purse had also been found inside the car. So after extensively searching, their bodies have never been recovered, and they are presumed dead.
Wow.
But they've never been found.
But only their clothes?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Just all their stuff in the car.
Yeah.
And then that's it.
I mean, if they were right by the river, it kind of...
Yeah. I don't know. There was one article that said that when they were searching, they had dogs and they lost the scent at the river.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if maybe they jumped in. I don't know. Anyway. So the families of both Keith and Cassandra have sent many letters to the FBI for updates on their loved one's case. Joyce Call Canada is the sister of Keith Call. She hyphenated her last name in hopes that people would recognize it, and she has remained in the same area just in case. They even have the same phone number.
Oh.
Yeah. While not everyone believes that the murders are connected, Paula and Terry Haley, who are the sisters of Cassandra, said, quote, tying them all together helps in a way because if they put a title to it, people want to put together a show. Then people are more likely to care. Joyce got a call from her other brother when Bill Thomas, brother of Kathy, had reached out on their Facebook page what happened to Richard Keith Call and Cassandra Haley. Bill had written to the family after seeing an article about sensitive photos of the crime being leaked to the public. He said, quote, my name is Bill Thomas, and I'm the older brother of Kathy Thomas, who together with her girlfriend Rebecca Dowski were the first 2 victims in the so-called Colonial Parkway murders. It was the first time in 20 years that Bill had spoken with any of the other families. Together, they began to plan efforts to put more pressure on law enforcement. Soon after, other victims' family members followed suit and gave interviews to the media and began speaking out about their frustrations with lack of progress and information regarding the cases. As with the other families, the FBI had met with them in 2010. Both the family of Keith and Cassandra still have hope that their loved ones can finally be laid to rest and the perpetrator brought to justice.
Yeah.
Same number you can call.
We'll include all of that in the show notes as well, the numbers.
Yes. So 18-year-old Anna Maria Phelps was living with her boyfriend in Virginia Beach in 1989. The two were having some financial troubles, so Anna Maria's boyfriend's older brother, 21-year-old Daniel Lauer, was going to move in with the couple. Daniel needed to go back home to get more of his belongings, and Anna Maria decided to go with him so she could visit her family. The last that anyone saw them was when they were on their way back to Virginia Beach.
And this is the couple, right?
Well...
Or was it her and the boyfriend's brother?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she was dating his younger brother.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just making sure I know who she's in the car with.
Yeah. So while not everyone was a couple...
Yeah.
It was still two people together.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. The two were reported missing on September 5th, 1989, when their car was found abandoned at a rest stop off I-64 in New Kent. And again, for those of you not familiar with not only Virginia, but Virginia Beach area, New Kent is in the opposite direction of Virginia Beach.
Okay.
So Daniel and Anna Maria should have been heading east, and their car was found on the westbound side of the highway.
Okay.
Yeah. So, like, New Kent is really close to, like, Williamsburg, which is not, like, I mean, it's not far, but it's probably still a 45-minute drive.
Yeah.
Maybe an hour if there's traffic to Virginia Beach.
Okay.
Yeah. So they were wrong direction. So similar to the other murders, the police found a purse and wallet still in the car, which ruled out robbery. There was an extensive search for the two, but no luck. However, on October 19th, 1989, hunters found two very decomposed bodies. Police determined they were the bodies of Anna Maria Phelps and Daniel Lauer. The bodies were found about a mile away from the rest stop the car had been found at, and their remains were so badly decomposed and parts of their bodies were scattered due to animals that they weren't able to tell cause of death. So Daniel's cause of death was never determined, but Anna Maria's bones showed signs of stabbing, and so that was ruled her cause of death.
Okay.
Investigators were unsure if Anna Maria and Daniel had pulled over at the rest stop and were killed there, or if they were killed somewhere else. No other information. Again, their case went cold. So,
Jeez. And have they connected these at this point?
now the theories. So our first and most believed theory is that these killings were all the result of a serial killer. Nothing official has linked these cases other than the road.
And we haven't found any like DNA or anything like that? Okay, sorry.
Listen.
Okay, sorry. I just have so many questions.
Well, that's why I leave you with theories. I answer them, but you have to figure out which one you believe.
Oh my God, okay.
Okay. So nothing official has linked these cases. However, given the location and the victims, this has led investigators believe that is the work of one person.
Okay.
However, here are some flaws in said logic. Not all of the murders had occurred along the parkway. However, they were all relatively close.
Right.
One of the four couples had been a gay couple, while the others were heterosexual.
Right.
One of the couples have never been found, but all the others were found not very far from their cars. So why were they never found? All of the murders have a different cause of death.
Yes, exactly.
So Kathy and Rebecca were strangled with their throats slashed. David and Robin shot to death. Richard and Cassandra, unknown / still missing. And Daniel and Anna Maria, one unknown, the other stabbed. Supposedly.
Which is weird.
And while there are reports that 3 of the 4 cases have DNA evidence, both the FBI and state police declined to comment about an ongoing investigation. So on the show Lovers Lane Murders, they interviewed a former FBI agent who said that the investigators won't reveal all of the details of a case in order to...
Right, to be able to prove...
No, I need you to say the word that I can't say.
Oh, corroborate?
Thank you. Claims about the investigation.
Right, because they want to keep things a secret so that if the killer does come forward, they'll have this information that no one else would know.
Right, and he even said, too, that, people come out of the woodworks with these kinds of things, 15 minutes of fame or just fucked up individuals that want to take credit for something that they didn't do. He even said, too, that, like, sometimes if someone's already going away, then they'll just claim other things because they're already going away for life anyway.
And they want that, like, clout.
Right. So it makes sense as to why some things are going to be kept close to the vest.
Oh, absolutely.
But anyway, it still doesn't make sense that they're all one person.
And also, if it's all one person, how are they able to overpower 2 people? Like, I get that it's happened, but I just feel like it would be a little difficult, or someone might have, like, defense wounds, like something.
Yes.
Like under their fingernails or something.
I agree. And they were all killed differently.
Right.
And all about a year apart.
Yeah. I get the year apart thing. That makes sense with, like...
Well, but one was in April.
Yeah.
And then all the other ones were, like, October, September timeframe.
Yeah, I mean, I get that with the cool down thing. Like, that makes sense. But the different, like, MOs and the different... It just doesn't...
And then nothing else ever happened.
Yeah, right.
So... But anyway, there's more. So a private investigator was hired, and he was one of the first to say that the cases were not related to each other at all. So another lesbian couple had been found in Shenandoah National Park in a very similar manner that Kathy and Rebecca had been found.
Oh.
The women had been strangled with their throats slashed to near decapitation, and they'd been tied up.
Okay.
The only issue with this case is that Shenandoah is on the other side of the state.
Yeah, but it's still Virginia.
It's about 200 miles from the Colonial Parkway.
But still.
I know.
People can travel.
That was my only thing, is I was like, oh, that's definitely connected. But then it said where it was, and I was like, well, that's really fucking far.
What do you think of Ted Bundy? He killed in Washington. He killed in Oregon. He killed in Florida.
That's true. That's true. And obviously, it didn't say about anywhere else in any other states. It was just Virginia.
Or there were ones in other states that were just
right,
especially with them being lesbians.
Exactly.
Like,
that's what I was thinking too.
Of course, that's going to get pushed under the rug. Like,
Yeah,
that's not going to be a.
And it's not like
story.
people talk to each other,
right?
So I don't know.
So there could be other states where this has happened. We're just never going to know.
Right. And these two cases could be related, meaning that none of the cases are related.
Right.
Because these two are, and this was one person, but everyone else was something different.
Right.
Also, something to note, a couple of the articles I read said that David and Robin had been victims of a robbery. Some said that the wallet was missing. Others said that it wasn't. But they all mentioned how police thought that David may have been running away because of the gunshot wound in his shoulder.
Okay.
So in 2010, a note was found that had been written by Anna Maria about a person she was supposed to meet at a rest stop. The note had information about the person, that he drove a blue van, and a phone number.
Wow.
The private investigator thought that this might prove that Anna Maria and Daniel were involved in a robbery gone wrong. However, police said that they had already investigated the note during the original investigation. But a couple of the sources I read that had mentioned the note said that no officers from the time recall ever hearing or seeing about a note.
Interesting.
But remember that some of the information is a little spotty.
Yeah, but I feel like a phone number is like a big piece of information, right?
No, I mean the note.
Well, yeah.
I didn't see the note on every.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But if we're talking about the note,
right,
you would think that a phone number would be a big piece of information.
Well, right. And the fact that not only that, but investigators are like, oh, yeah, we already looked into that. And then a lot of them are like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I'm like, well, if this is literally the person they met.
Right.
I don't know.
Do you think that could be something where they thought this was something that they were going to keep close to the vest, whatever the
vest,
and then other officers didn't know like that was the plan?
No, because it might have been her sister or sister-in-law found the note in her room and gave it to the private investigator.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Right.
There's no way the cops knew about this note then.
Right. Because she only recently found it.
Right.
Yeah. That's why I'm saying this. It's a little spotty information, but a family member found this note in her room.
Yeah.
Turned it over, whether it was to the private investigator, authorities, whoever. They said that they had already investigated this, but others were like, I've never heard of this note before.
Right. Okay.
So that's kind of the gist with the note.
I see. Yes.
So the private investigator is not the only one who believes that Kathy and Rebecca's murder may not have been connected to the other cases. One site I was reading was very adamant about the fact that Kathy and Rebecca had been killed by someone they knew. Given Kathy's position in the military and the fact that she was gay, they believed that she was killed by someone who wasn't too pleased to take orders from a gay woman, or really any woman in that matter.
And I mean, that's such a real thing.
For sure. And they even said that it appears that Kathy's throat was slashed more viciously than Rebecca's, and Rebecca may have just been collateral damage in the attack.
Right.
Also remember that Kathy was found in the trunk.
Right.
Yeah. So that means they took her out of the car, put her in the trunk. Now, since it doesn't seem like their murder may have happened at the place the car was found, I don't know why. From what it sounds like, her car might have been small. And so the person could have very well had planned to put both in the trunk.
They just didn't.
And they couldn't fit. Okay. Because anytime they didn't refer to it as the trunk, they said the hatchback, which means small trunk.
Yeah.
Rebecca was found in the back seat.
Right.
But apparently, according to this one site, Kathy's throat was the one that was slashed to near decapitation.
Okay.
So I don't know. But it does make the most sense.
Yeah.
Authorities did have another suspect in mind. He was a former deputy sheriff, Fred Atwell. Atwell was active during the 1986 investigation and was one of the people who had discovered that the FBI had leaked photos of the crime. There were some who believed that the killer had been in law enforcement, given that almost all the vehicles had the driver's side door or window open. Atwell became a suspect shortly after he alerted the public about the theft of the photographs. He was even arrested for a theft charge of about $100.
Okay.
And he was also accused of scamming the families in 2011. The families of the victims did not believe that Atwell was the one responsible, but we will never know because he died in 2018. So the last theory, and probably the one that is the least likely.
Aliens.
Close. But it was fun to include. It could be possibly a rogue CIA agent. Because
that is so far out of left field.
when I first read it, I was like, what?
Like, I can't even, that would have never crossed my mind. A rogue CIA agent. Okay.
Oh, let me explain.
Okay.
So Camp Perry is not too far from where the crime scenes are located, and apparently this was one of the training camps for the CIA.
Okay.
And the police apparently had done an investigation into these claims, but it was only because there was a big public frenzy about it. So that's the only reason why they investigated it. And I only saw this theory on 2 websites.
Right.
So
because the one website came up with it, the other one saw that website, was like, let me include this.
Exactly.
Now
And
you are the third source that's talking about it.
I just was like, I gotta include this one. Because it is the most
outlandish.
And even when I was reading one of them, I didn't know where they were going. And then all of a sudden, it and started talking about the military. I was like, oh yeah, that would make sense.
So much sense, yeah.
Like the other women were in the military. And then it was like a CIA rogue agent. I was like, what? You lost me. Like, I don't understand.
Right. What?
And
Why?
I don't know, because honestly, what I just told you is I decided to infer and piece together. Because the mentioning of it didn't really make sense cohesively.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, someone thinks it may be someone in the CIA because of this camp nearby. That's the gist.
The only thing that would make sense with the CIA agent thing is then it would make sense how they were able to get 2 people at once.
Right.
You know, like how they could fight 2 people at the same time.
Right.
That's it.
So it's still believed by most law enforcement that this is the result of one person.
Okay.
However, when you really dig through all the details, it seems a bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
That it could be.
Yeah. I just think it's the different, like, methods. Like, that's just weird.
Yeah. There was, FBI agents and former FBI agents. And like, there was one article I read where like a former prosecutor had even said, like, I would not try this case because there's nothing that really connects.
Right.
Obviously, the DNA is the biggest one, but we don't even know for sure if they do have DNA.
Yeah.
At least.
And back then, too, I don't think it was really thought of like, oh, get out of the fingernails. Oh, look for these fibers. Like
So,
small
yes.
things like that.
So that was kind of what one of them mentioned was it, they were saying that there could be a lot of reasons as to why the DNA is not tested.
Yeah.
It could be there's not enough. And so therefore, if they test it, it degrades it, or
Right.
then because you have to have enough for the defense too, or there's not enough to detect any DNA, or it is degraded.
Jeez.
All those different things.
Stored properly,
Yeah.
a number of things.
Exactly. And this was in the 80s, so it wasn't big then. So we still don't know. Could it be a serial killer? Could it not be a serial killer?
Are you more along the fence of thinking it's like one person, or are you more along the fence of thinking it's not one person?
So I have 2 ideas.
Okay.
If it is one person, I think they may have done it this way so that people didn't connect them.
Oh, okay.
Interesting. Because they are so different.
Right.
And if you think about it, so Kathy and Rebecca strangled with their throat slashed. We don't know how, like, did they pull over somewhere?
Right. We don't know why they were there.
Right. Did they get attacked and then taken somewhere? David and Robin shot. Now, as they said, it looked like David might have been running away.
Yeah.
And so maybe the person tried to do it again, but couldn't get control of them, especially because David ran away, and just shot them and pieced.
Okay.
Because their bodies were not found right by their car.
Right.
Their car was found first, and then a couple days later,
Oh, yeah.
then they found them. Then by the time we get to Richard and Cassandra, or Keith and Cassandra, they're still missing.
Yeah.
No one knows where they are. And Daniel and Anna Maria, I bet you anything, because they were found over a month later and were so badly decomposed, you couldn't tell cause of death.
Right.
So Richard and Cassandra are still missing. Maybe they got, you learn as you go. And so it's like, okay, well, they're still gone. That worked out. Maybe Daniel and Anna Maria were not meant to be found, but they were. And by that time it was too late anyway. So it's really hard to tell with those last 2 whether they relate or not, because there's still a couple of unknown pieces.
Yeah.
I think it could be if you spin it the right way.
Right.
But when you look at all of them kind of like objectively outside, I would not think that these are related at all. I would
Right.
think it'd just be
It sounds
unfortunate
like they're just related
events.
because it's like two people on a road
Right.
in this area.
Yeah. They are close together. They're all couples. They all were found with around a car.
Right.
So there definitely is some similarities, but there's
Right.
also a ton of differences.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
like age is different.
Oh yeah. Then the sexual orientation.
Sexual orientations. Like why would the first, was it just couples? It didn't matter?
Right.
Or, you know, I don't know. So it is a mystery.
It's one of those things again where it's like, we've lived here our entire lives.
Yeah, I'd never heard of this.
Right. I've like heard, like I said, I've heard the name of it, but
Yeah.
I never knew details.
Well, you know, I listened to another podcast called Serial Killers, and it like kind of talks about like the psyche
Yeah.
of them. I mean, you know, they've covered like the ones that you know of.
Yeah.
There are so many. I'm like, I've never heard of these.
Well, I mean, that's what we've kind of been discovering too, like
Yeah.
with states, because when you cover a state, you can't always do like the big hard hitting things. You're
Right.
finding these small little things in a state that the big podcasts are never going to find.
Right.
Because why would they? Because it's such a small thing.
Yeah.
But we're finding it because we're looking in that state specifically for
that,
something.
yes.
So yeah, we're finding all these wild things that like you don't hear about.
Well, even when I went to the Museum of Death, they had like pretty much like baseball cards of serial killers.
Yeah.
There were hundreds.
Yeah.
Hundreds. And even one of the articles I was reading was like, there's, I don't know, it's like thousands of unsolved cases.
Yeah.
And this is like one of them. And there's like a couple of databases that like you can look to see unsolved cases per state. And I
Oh.
think Virginia at the time that the article had been written was 1,400
Whoa.
were still unsolved.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know. They had compared it to the amount of murders that had happened in like from like 76 to 2019.
Mhm.
And then of those which were unsolved. And I can't remember all the numbers.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, you think of Murderpedia, one of our favorite
Mhm.
websites ever, and just the number of ones on there.
Well, the amount of things that I've seen just with watching true crime documentaries, like if you look at Henry Lee Lucas,
Mm-hmm.
he was only responsible for like 3 people.
Right.
But because they kept feeding him, oh, did you do this? Oh, did you do that? Now all of these cases
Are those.
are closed and all of these people got away with it. The amount of false confessions that may have happened.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, the amount of things that you'll admit just to get out of whatever.
Yeah.
Like the amount of times I've said that you could torture me just fuck by tickling me. Like, I would tell you anything. I would make something up just to get you to stop.
No, exactly. And that's what people do a lot of times. Just to get you
Yeah.
to stop, they confess to things that they're not guilty of.
Exactly.
Like the West Memphis 5 are
Mhm.
a big one.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was 5, right? West Memphis 3. West Memphis.
I think you're thinking of Central Park 5.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. But even like did you ever watch the documentary about the doctor who had been impregnating all of his
Mhm.
patients?
I didn't watch it, but I know about that one. Yeah.
So it gets up to like in the hundreds, which means all these people are related and don't know each other.
Right.
And at the end of it, they said that there's like 44 other doctors who have been known to do it.
Wow.
And I'm like, that's what they know about.
Yeah, exactly what they know about.
Right. Like it's just, I don't know. If you really think about the amount that has been unsolved,
Mhm.
you know, like the cases that we've covered.
Right.
There's so many. And it's like the Zodiac. Is that guy even still here?
No one
Who
knows.
knows?
No one knows.
It's wild.
But it is cool, like recently with the Golden State Killer, like
Mhm.
being found 50 years later.
So they did mention that was kind of one of the things that really brought renewed sense of hope to the families was because of what happened with
Right.
him.
Mhm.
And so that's what they're kind of hoping for is that if they test whatever DNA may or may not have been found, even though they might not have someone to compare it to, it might be like the genealogy thing.
Right.
Because apparently
Mhm.
that guy they caught by like a third cousin.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it was a cousin who put in his DNA.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, interesting. This kind of matches this guy. And that's how they found him.
yeah. So that's what they're kind of hoping for.
Wow.
So yeah,
Well, nicely done.
Thank you.
I'm glad I learned something new today.
I wanted to do this state justice, not only because it's our home state, but also because it's your birthday.
Oh, thank you.
So
Well, it was a good birthday episode.
yes. And we'll be together on your actual birthday.
I know. Well, we record for the next week.
So it'll be fun.
No.
Yay.
Well, thank you for listening.
Yeah. as always,
Follow us on all the things, all our typical stuff. So stay scary.
stay safe.